House Speaker Kevin McCarthy to lead a GOP delegation to the U.S.-Mexico border. They're there today. Speaking to reporters before leaving, McCarthy said the first thing that has to be done is secure the border before we have any immigration reform. Joining us to discuss our panel, former New York City Commissioner Giuliani and Bloomberg administration's Brian Anderson, talk show host News Radio 1040 WHO, News Radio 600 WMT, Simon Conway, and Project 21 member, publicist, and political activist Whitley Yates. Whitley, I'm going to start with you here. Do you agree with what Speaker McCarthy says?
I agree that what Speaker McCarthy is saying. I think that the border definitely needs to be secure. I think the Democrats know all about performative politics. And so when they have politicians that are trying to be productive and get something done, they're a little bit confused because they're not used to actually having to do the work. I know in Indiana, fentanyl has completely decimated some of our communities. I'm actually attending a funeral of my cousins who had overdoses from fentanyl. This is a very serious issue that needs to be taken care of right away.
Yeah, and Simon, Senator Marsha Blackburn was on yesterday talking about a documentary they did down at the border. It seems like people need to see what's going on more because they're being kept from seeing it, if that's proper grammar, from those on the left, and the administration is on board with that. And many of the more liberal networks, they're just not showing it, showing the reality of what's going on, it appears.
Look, Bob, in order to understand what's going on at the border, you have to go to the border. I've been to the border. I spent 3 days there. I did radio shows there. I actually put my arm into Mexico. I didn't really want to walk into Mexico because I was with Border Patrol and I wasn't sure what they would do when I walked back. But I could have done because there was no fence, literally no fence. So I could have walked into Mexico. The president says he's now been to the border. He clearly hasn't. He went to some, white, clean version of the border where he didn't see any of the issues that are going on. I actually ended up in the desert with Border Patrol because technology told us that people had broken into our country, and we went and tracked them down. Took about 2 hours. We caught them, and we put them in handcuffs, and off they went to go into the system. Unless you have seen that and understand the scale of what is going on, frankly, you have no right to talk about it. So I wouldn't let these politicians that have never been really have a say in it at all. But is McCarthy right? Well, yeah, you've got to secure the border if you want to fix immigration. That's job one. It's not rocket science at all, really.
Yeah, and Brian, even if you're not at the border, you're a native New Yorker, and we're seeing the effects of people illegally coming into this country right here in New York City, and of course around the country in many other places. So again, this isn't just an issue that affects people at the border; it affects Americans and also their wallets across the country.
Certainly, and we've been told from the first days of the Biden administration that we had a border czar. It seems like everyone's been to the border except the border czar. The faucet is full steam. We need to turn that off. And that's really what it comes down to. And every city is paying the price. Mayor Adams doesn't know what to do anymore. He's sending them up to Canada, but he's chastising the governors for sending them out of his state. So things are not good right now, and we need to get that under control. It's very clear.
All right. Meanwhile, a White House spokesman for hits the GOP, I should say, for partisan publicity stunts. That's what they're calling what's going on down there. I guess I don't know what it takes for this administration to actually take it seriously, Brian. It seems like all the efforts to make this public. Actually, if you look at the polls, a majority of Americans think that it is a problem, and that includes Democrats.
Exactly. And, I don't know if this has to wind up on the electeds' doorsteps before they take ownership of this issue, but they haven't. I mean, they've sent it up to the Massachusetts and to all the ritzy areas up there, only to be bussed out further. So they have their way of just making it go away so they don't have to deal with it.
Yeah, I also want to get to this. Chicago residents are ripping apart Mayor Lori Lightfoot's policies for allowing out-of-control homeless encampments to grow inside the city's very popular International O'Hare airport. Although when airport users complained, O'Hare's administration didn't seem to be very worried about it. Democrat-run cities seem to have little desire to solve homelessness. We're also seeing incredible rates of homeless encampments in Seattle, in New York City, in Washington, D.C.
Just
Whitley.
pick a big city.
Yeah, exactly. Pick one. But again, this is now moving inside. Whitley.
Absolutely. I call her Mayor Lori Light on Crime because that's what she does. She doesn't take this seriously. And when this happens, when there's encampments, I was just at O'Hare in January. There were literally people sleeping and urinating in the elevators of the airport. And when you don't take public safety seriously, when 20% of the Chicago PD force has to resign because you don't support police, these types of things happen. So this isn't actually even surprising. What is surprising is her response to the nonsense.
What would you do to try to fix the homeless situation, Simon? I mean, you're somebody that talks to people about this problem on a regular basis. There used to be a time, when I'm out and I see them, I don't wish that on anybody, but it seems like there are places for them to go, ideally, and they need to be taken there.
They absolutely are. They need to clean this up. You described O'Hare as popular. I think you just mean well used. It's one of the worst airports in the country. But that's appropriate because it's the worst mayor in the country. They absolutely need to move these people on. They need to find somewhere to put them. Obviously, it's winter. It's the Midwest. It's snowing outside my window right now. So it's not nice out there. And I'm, just a couple of states away. So we need to take care of our citizens who find themselves in distress. Make no mistake about that. That is not what I'm saying. They do, however, not belong in an international airport. A lot of people arrive in our country at Chicago O'Hare. Welcome to America.
Very well
true.
said. No, really good point there. Simon Conway, Brian Anderson, Whitley Yates, great to have you as always. And I'm glad that most of you got the memo to wear red today. Thank you.